go to the next level, which we're all excited for. In terms of the roster, roster construction is always a challenge. There's a lot of factors, a lot of moving parts that you constantly have to, adapt to and adjust and change. But really think we're in a good situation moving forward. Some of the key topics, health, I think, the positive side is there's no major injuries that are going to be long-term, which is really good in terms of a lot of the volume of some of the soft tissue things that we're dealing with. We got to look at that, kind of do our after action deal and see if we can kind of move the needle the other way. Our data shows us that it is going the other way. It's less than what it was. I think some of the names were different this year though. And we'll continue to improve that process. In terms of the offensive line, excited about that group. Tev's obviously going to be down for a little bit, but we're in a much better place up front. Excited about Dan Feeney, who we brought in, versatile interior player that makes us feel a lot better and a lot secure inside as we move through the season. The quarterback position obviously was a really cool situation this year. You got to give Tyson a lot of, you got to give him a lot of credit for how he handled the situation, really poised throughout the entire process, elevated his game every single week and got better. And you want guys like that to make, the roster construction difficult, and make it a challenge. And for those guys to force themselves on the roster, and he did that and he earned it. And I'm proud of him. Really hopeful we get Nate back here in the next few days. He's important to us. He's important to that room as well. In terms of punt return, that's another topic that's popped up. We're in the process of getting Trent Taylor in here to help us out as we continue to develop our guys, Tyler Scott and Bayless. We got to get Bayless comfortable in that position. The injury kind of hurt the two preseason games where he can get more reps, so we could feel comfortable. He could feel comfortable moving forward. But we believe in those guys. We're going to keep pouring into them to improve. Trade rumors kind of cracks me up, the stuff that I hear. We turned every stone. We investigate everything. Nothing really got serious. Never thought about or had any conversation about trading Mooney, which is interesting. And Travis Gibson never came to my office and said that he wanted to be traded. So just want to make that stuff clear. In terms of Gibson, love that kid. It was more of a fit thing, scheme fit. I think his success came in a different scheme. We had a great conversation yesterday, and I'm excited to see where he goes and what he does. In terms of contracts, no updates there. Everything's kind of quiet right now. If something changes, I'll let you guys know. So open up to questions. Oh, real quick. Claims.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Ryan just touched on it. The cut down process overall is never easy. It's a little bit bittersweet in the sense of, you're letting go guys that you develop relationships with, and guys that since we've been here, we've had relationships with. JJ did a really good job in leading the process with our scouting assistants. And then the claim process overall, it's a lot easier this year than it was last year. We were kind of implementing the process as we were evaluating the team and as we were evaluating other rosters, which made it a little bit easier this year. And that was spearheaded by C. White, Jeff King. Those guys did a really good job of setting the table for us, just letting us know who were the players that we wanted to identify on roster bubbles on other teams. And I thought that made the process a lot easier for us last night and the last 72 hours. So with that, we can help out.
Brandon, crossover topic of injuries and O-line. Can you clear up the mystery of what happened to Tevin?
I'm not going to give you the details with that, but we feel like it's a week-to-week thing, not too serious. He'll be designated for return. And then when he comes back, he should be good to go.
So he's going on IR?
Yeah, and he'll be designated for return after that.
When you said you want Peterman back on the practice squad, would that be it in terms of your quarterbacks, or would there be?
We take a look at everything. That's our kind of plan right now. That might be practice squad. That could be the 53 too.
But it'd be 3 quarterbacks.
In some way, yeah.
Ryan, with Nate Davis, how have you guys balanced what you saw on tape of him in Tennessee and then just not really having him for much of the spring and summer?
Yeah, he's gone through a couple things. I will say when he has gone, it's everything that we saw on tape before. So I'm confident we're going to be in a good place. As coach said the other day, with football, you do have to play football. You gotta practice football, and he's doing well now. But knocking that rust off and getting going, that's going to be the key thing. So we got a little bit of time here, practice today, practice tomorrow, and then next week. So we're heading the right direction.
Ryan, what did the miss on Walker and the success of Bajan teach you about quarterback evaluation that might be useful in the future?
Yeah, it's a year-to-year thing. You evaluate, you try to put guys in a good position to be successful and kind of carry over and go to the next step from what you saw on tape. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And also, we talk about not putting a ceiling on players. Tyson comes in and takes it one day at a time and shows consistency. And at the end of the day, you got to make decisions that are best for the football team. It's not about me and what my decision was. When it plays out, and that's what it is. I've always felt, and I've actually had conversations with some of my old teammates that played in the league for a long time, and they feel when you kind of fudge stuff, right? Like if you're off and you don't make the right change and everyone kind of sees what is going on the field, they feel that. So we had to make the best decision that was for us, and that's what we did.
Do you consider those episodes kind of learning experiences for you as a GM?
Oh, shoot, everything's a learning experience. Are you kidding me? Like the different players, the different circumstances, where they come from, the process to get them onboarded. There's a learning lesson in every success and failure. I learn something new every day.
2 years into this, though, how much have you learned about being willing to cut ties when something isn't working out instead of trying to give it more time, hoping that it will yield a fit?
Yeah.
And be able just to even with the financial penalty like Leatherwood and BJ.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance for sure. There's some commitments that you do have to give it the full time frame to make it work. Because I've seen guys struggle early and then something clicks, or if it's the way they're learning, or if it's a resource in the building, whatever it is, I've seen it elevate off of that. But you got to have a good feel for when you kind of reach that limit and, all right, I got to move on, take it and move on. You just hurt the team if you go too long. So I think you just kind of have to own and put your ego aside and go.
Ryan, you expect Tyson Bajan to be the backup quarterback to Justin Fields on September 10th?
Oh, yeah, we're working through that. Again, I talked about Nate coming in. We got to work through that and see what we're comfortable with. It's hard to answer that question right now.
Ryan, Justin was obviously sacked 55 times a season ago. How do you feel about the evolution of he and the offensive line? Because the line looks completely different, obviously, at this stage right now.
Yeah, I feel better about it. Obviously, we need to see that number change, and that's a relationship, right? Where protection's got to be better, and I feel better about our setup in terms of the guys in front of them and our tackles. Braxton is going in year 2, and Darnell's doing a good job, and that alone should help us. And then Justin's ability to execute our offense more efficiently and get the ball out quicker too, like all of that should run together, and that number should drop.
Ryan, with Tevin out, how do you see center? How do you think that'll play out?
Yeah, again, that's one of those things we're working on right now. It's fluid right now, and by the time we get into next week, I'm sure we'll have that thing solidified, which is important too. The one thing I'll say about just the injuries in general is, you get these opportunities to plug other guys in, because that's what's going to happen during the season. So we've been able to move guys around a little bit, and they get experience, because if we have to do that in the season, we should be in a better position.
There are people outside the building that have expectations for Justin that might not be realistic. What are your expectations specifically for him this season?
Yeah, just to continue to improve. We want those sack numbers to come down, interceptions to go down, make good reads, protect himself. Just see him take the next step.
How did you come to the conclusion that playing him in the preseason playing him a lot in the preseason wasn't the direction you wanted to go?
Yeah, that's like a complicated conversation. Really, we had the joint practice in the second week where there's a lot of competitive reps. So we felt really good about that. The ones took the majority of those reps, so the workload was high. So we took them off of that. And then really we had a conversation of what we felt comfortable with him getting in the third game to feel comfortable. I do think he kind of got to get hit a little bit to kind of wake you up for the regular season because he's just sitting in practice and there's no threat of being hit. And then just having command of the entire offense, we felt like in the snap count that we set for that third game, we were comfortable with.
Ryan, when you say elevate and go to the next level, how do you define that internally? What do you want to see of that?
Win more games.
Ryan, with Mooney and Jalen Johnson, as far as contract talk still ongoing, there's that possibility that those are done, or do you envision those players playing out the final year of their deal?
We're taking that kind of week by week. And I really don't want to get into it. It just kind of creates a distraction in there for the entire year. But, we like those guys. Love to have them here long term. So we'll just kind of stick with our plan.
Early in the offseason, you guys obviously have to sit down and set some goals. This is what we went through. This is what we want to try to accomplish. There's going to be a lot of twists and turns.
Yep.
Some of it you get done, some of it you don't.
Right.
How would you say the entirety of that process from then until now went? How many boxes maybe were left unchecked?
It's hard to answer. I feel like we've made really good progress. That's kind of how I can answer it. We're in a good place, in a much better place than we were last year. So I feel like we've been able to move the needle and be in a position to go after our goals and to have more aggressive goals in terms of being a championship organization.
Ian, what appealed to you about the two guys that you guys claimed off waivers? We're starting with Kareem.
With Kareem.
What appealed to the Bears about those guys?
Yeah, we had a chance to see him a couple weeks ago in Indy. Just the athleticism, the motor. We watched him last night as well again, probably for the third time. But just his flexibility, his pass rusher, another Notre Dame connection to the Bears roster. And then with Quindell, we had a really good feel for him coming out. Breck Ackley did a really good job on him, evaluating him. We were in the process of trying to get him during the UDFA process, but we weren't lucky enough to get him, but we are now. He's physical downhill safety. He had 10 career interceptions in college, so he's got good ball skills. He's going to help HT on special teams, so we're excited.
For either of you guys, in your big picture evaluation, where did Travis fall short of what you wanted to see from him?
I don't think he fell short. I would just say that, with us, like Ryan touched on, he had his most production in 34 scheme versus the 4-3. He did a lot for us, just in terms of the leadership and who he was, showed up every day. We just wanted the best situation for him. And ultimately, that was the decision we came to.
Ryan, have you seen concrete progress from Chase Claypool in this offseason that tells you he's going to get back to the player you thought you were trading for, or is that still kind of just hopeful and projecting at this point?
Yeah, concrete's hard to say because we haven't played a game, but up until the point where he was out of practice, I thought he was showing like that was his best version of himself, making a lot of plays, bringing energy, physicality to the run game and the pass game. So at that point, I felt really good, got a little chipped up there, and I was working back into it. But I liked where he left off when he was kind of at his pinnacle of camp. I felt really good about.
With Nate Davis's absence, just injuries, like why he wasn't in most of camp.
It was a combination of things, but yeah, he's I just feel like he's in a better place now.
What's realistic for rookie defensive tackles, and what did you see from Pickens and Javon that really liked over the summer?
Yeah, it's a challenge. Rookie year, I've been around a guy that was now really successful. That it took a little time to get a feel for things. That it happened so fast in there. You got to rely on your technique and instincts, and so for those two guys, I think it's cool that they get to grow together. But I thought each game they flashed multiple times to show what they're capable of. Now it's just getting consistent with it. Dexter came from a little bit of a different scheme. So, you'll see him fall back into his old ways every once in a while. So we got to just have enough reps where he can get that out of his system and play the way that we're asking him to. And then Pickens has flashed multiple times just in terms of making plays all the way down the line of scrimmage to creating, pressure and showing his athletic ability to get to the quarterback.
Ryan, you talked about coming into this process, the reality being that you guys probably weren't going to be able to fill all the holes on this roster this offseason. Without giving away where you think those holes may still be, can you put a percentage on how many of those holes you think you all have filled?
Again, it's hard until you start playing. Just being realistic, man. I mean, on paper, 80%, 75%. But at the end of the day, like when the lights come on and we play a real game, the energy level's different, the speed is different. We'll be able to evaluate that as we go through the season. But I feel good again on paper. I feel good about the progress, and I feel we took a chunk out of what we needed to.
Ryan, so many unknowns going into this season. You've made a lot of progress, but what areas specifically are you most confident in that will be upgraded from last? You'll be better this year than last year.
I would say there's a lot. I mean, if you really, break it down, I feel like our defense in terms of takeaways is going to be in a better situation. I feel like explosive plays and run after the catch on offense is going to be better. So I'll lean on that. Two things I stand out.
Some of the players we've talked to, talking about like Green Bay and not easing into the season, starting off fast there, knowing that Rodgers is now out of the division. Do you view this as an opportunity for this team to regain an edge in that rivalry?
Yeah, I would say whoever, was playing quarterback there, that was going to be the mindset. When it comes to the division, you want to win all those games. And I think I talked about it all the way from the beginning. Like, you want to take the division over and really put your flag in it because that's where it starts. And I feel like that's where you can really, again, move the needle to being a championship caliber team.
In the offseason, you're going to have to make, or you can make a decision this upcoming offseason about whether or not to give Justin an extension. What specifically will you be looking for once the games start? And how much of it is there a gut feeling of it when you see it versus, right, we're checking off this box, is a combination of the two?
You kind of surprised me with that question. We hit the fast forward button. Yeah, I mean, I'll just generically say progress. I can't tell you how many boxes need to be checked. I always think, your gut instinct is always going to be a part of decision making as well. So all of the above. I mean, you're looking for progress and to feel good about it, and also to watch the tape and get a feel for a guy if he can take you to that next level.
If Tyson ends up being QB2, what indication do you have that you will be ready to go in and operate an offense in a real NFL game?
I think we've seen it every day since his rookie minicamp, just his poise. He's got this moxie. He has this confidence about him. I remember walking out of the tunnel with him against Tennessee, and it was like he's been here before, right? And he showed it. He's displayed it ever since he's been here. And then in game exposure, his accuracy, decision making, his poise. We saw what he was able to do with his legs. I think the kid's got a bright future.
As an extension of that, how do you describe the responsibilities of your backup quarterback in terms of the week-to-week support of the starter and getting that guy ready and helping him prepare for the next opponent?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. You almost have to be their eyes and ears and to be able to give them advice in terms of what you saw versus what they saw after maybe a good play or a bad play. That feedback, another set of eyes is always, important. I don't think we got a chance to say it either, but, with Tyson, it wasn't us. Jeff King and our area scout, Tom Bradway, really stood on the table for Tyson, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Again, this is just the beginning. We got a long ways to go now, but for this first step, I do want to make sure they get credit for that.
I imagine that if you guys knew that he was going to be a backup quarterback already, you probably would have used a draft pick on him. I guess in what ways did he sort of exceed what your guys' scouting report was just a few months ago?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan just hit on it with the background that Tom and Jeff got on him. It was dead on, just in terms of the person, the intangibles, what he shows up every single day. It's not too big for him. He's shown that he's able to develop on the field and in the classroom. I remember when Jeff got done seeing him at Shepherd, he came in my office raving about this guy whose dad was a pro arm wrestler. And I was like, who is this guy? And he was fired up about him. And then we were able to see him, and Luke was able to see him down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. So then we got another touch point to him. There was a familiarity, there was a comfort level with him. and then obviously getting him to the UDFA process and getting excited about that. He's just continued to show us every single step of the way he's growing, and we're just excited to have him.
And it seemed like Terrell Lewis had a pretty good summer here. Just talking about scheme fit with Travis. What was it about Terrell Lewis and going into Khalid Kareem that made Kareem seemingly a better fit than what Terrell could have been in this system?
Yeah, I'd just say what Terrell was able to do. Just he was a good pass rusher. I feel like Kareem showed a little bit more of what we were looking for in terms of playing the run, playing the pass. He showed a little bit more of the scheme fit that our defensive staff is looking for.
Ryan,
Either
you
of you-
mentioned Trent Taylor at the beginning. What do you like about what he brings as a returner?
Yeah, consistency. That's the biggest thing. When the ball gets punted, you can go grab a snack and go to the bathroom and then come back and you feel confident about it. So that's a big part.
With Bayless in there
He's the punt
though,
returner then. I mean, he comes in, he's the punt returner, that's it.
does that mean Bayless is out of that competition for punt return?
No, we're going to continue. Like I said, we're going to continue to work on those guys and get them experience and try to get that confidence back that he had in college and before. So, having some of the issues that he's had, like that's a tough thing. You got to work back through it. And he's had some weird looks too. So we still believe in him and we want to continue to develop Tyler as well.
When you mentioned Tevin being out, how valuable has Tevin been to you? And how do you view that as a developmental success story by your staff to take a guy that you didn't pick that was maybe miscast in his role by the previous staff?
Yeah, I think it just goes to our philosophy here that we want to find what you can do really well and put you in that position. And we'll use whatever resource we have to get you to be at your optimal level and to help the football team. If you have that approach with everyone, you can be in a good situation.
With the Trent Taylor signing, how much did you lean on Richard Hightower from their time together at San Francisco?
A lot.
Yeah, but anything?
It was just a relationship there. And again, the consistency part is important.
Without playing any real games yet, where have you seen the pass game evolve the most with Justin?
I would say anticipation, trust in his receivers to let him go make plays. I mean, we were just out at practice and, it was happening again, which is good.
You mentioned in your opening the movie trade rumors. I'm curious how those came to your desk, how you became aware of them, and then is that in this weird world we live in, is that something you have to address with the player at some point so he doesn't get any weird thoughts?
Sometimes I like to address it just to knock it out, and sometimes if it doesn't create some crazy, if it doesn't run and turn into something huge, I guess I assume that everyone's like, all right, it's gone. But if it gets out of control, I definitely talk to the guys and make sure we're on the same page.
How do you become aware of that one?
Yeah, I do what these guys tell me not to do, which is I flick through my phone. No, I was aware by it popping up on my phone.
Couple more. You've laid out your goals for Justin. How have those conversations with him gone? You've laid out your goals for Justin. How have those conversations with him gone, or have you had those conversations at all?
Really, I trust in Luke and Andrew Janoko and Flus right now. He spends most of his time with the coaches and they've put their plan together and their goals in terms of getting better and taking that next step. So, as a staff, we talk about what we need to see, but they've had those conversations and he kind of knows what's expected of him. And really, he's a goal-oriented guy and he's competitive. So, I'm sure his stuff is more aggressive than what ours is, which is good. That's what you want your guys to be like.
What have you made out of Tyreek Stevenson's summer? He's had some ups, some downs. What have you made out of it?
I'm excited for the kid. Corner in this league all these positions are hard as a rookie. It's a big adjustment. What you like about it is it's the short memory where, all right, that one's gone on to the next one. I thought that last preseason game was a great sample size of that. And you hope as the season goes along, some of the negative plays start to disappear, more the him being a playmaker increases. And he's made a lot of plays during training camp, and we're proud of how he's approached everything. And he's been focused, he's been hungry, he's competitive. I like the way that he carries himself through the ups and downs too. And I think that's important for a corner position. You got to be like that.
Ryan, how much of this season is do you consider on Matt Eberflus to kind of, you hired him to kind of take him to that next level? And what's your, where do you feel he's positioned or to kind of make a difference? It seems like you're relying a lot on coaching with a lot of these players, Pickens and Dexter, everybody. How much of it is on Eberflus to really take it, to really fuel this thing?
Matt's been outstanding in his ability to develop players and push his staff to develop human beings and really pour into the players as people. He's a coach, he's the teacher, the whole staff is. So, when players come in, it's our job to find talent that is primed, to improve and help our football team. And then we hand that over and the coaches pour into them. So I got a lot of confidence in Flus and his staff to develop the players. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Ryan Poles breaking down what he is expecting coming into this season. Some of the signings. Pat, the designer, here with you on ESPN Chicago app, and on YouTube. Make sure that you guys call into the show with your reaction, 312-332-3776. I got a bunch of notes here from takeaways that I saw there. I mean, I thought that listen, with the waiver wire moves today, with some of the moves that were taken away, there's a couple of things that I'm going to want to get into. I got the YouTube chat open here. I want to hear from you guys, the fans, as well. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love to the show, man. Travis Gibson trade, we got to chop it up about that. Got to talk about Terrell Lewis being cut and some of the people that have been brought in. The fact that Travis did not fall short, but it was a scheme fit, that's a little interesting to me. I kind of want to see, I want to debate that one a little bit. And then Nate Davis issues. I think, if anything, that's the biggest question mark that we leave this press conference talking about. I want to hear from you guys, the fans, 312-332-3776. Appreciate you guys for tuning in with us. Let's jump into this. I think that's probably my biggest concern to start things off here is when we hear from Ryan Poles that the Nate Davis issues were a combination of a couple of things. You're talking about injury and other things on top of that. What does that mean? What are we talking about here? Because we keep hearing these rumors, right? We keep hearing these rumors or this talk that came out of Tennessee about how he didn't want to practice. That's the rumor that's been going around a couple of times, right? This is nothing, right? This was a issue when the signing happened where people were talking about he doesn't want to practice. Baki in the YouTube chat said, from what I've heard, it's an attitude issue with Nate Davis. I've heard the same things. I can't confirm or deny any of them because I haven't seen Nate Davis on the practice field. We went through an entire training camp without seeing Nate Davis. Couple of times here and there in shells, gets on the field. He was on the field today, I believe. But you're talking about an entire training camp where you come in and the question mark is he going to be a guy who wants to practice? And when this question is posed to Ryan Poles, all of a sudden it's, hey, it was a combination of things. A combination of what? Call in, let me know how you guys feel. 312-332-3776. Want to hear from you guys as well. He's doing the opposite AI here. We talking about practice? It's Nate Davis doing the Allen Iverson. I tell you what, you better be able to crap all pro performances. We're talking about practice, not the game, right? That's where we're starting this thing off. I don't know about that. I'm concerned about that. I have I got a little bit of concern on that. And listen, Nate Davis probably going to come in, be a fine player, be able to go through, do whatever he wants. He understands the position. I'm not saying that he's not a player that can't make plays, but what are we doing here? Question marks on the guy at practice. It was injuries and other things. What are these other things? What do you have? Something else to do this month? This last month in training camp? What he had something else going on? Was there an engagement that we missed? Was there a you know what I mean? Like what's happening here? Very confusing stuff about Nate Davis there. Very confusing stuff. Do want to get into the waiver wire pickups as well. Let us know anything you guys want to call in about, talk about. Want to hear from you as well. Listen, the waiver wire pickups today send a serious signal to me. We signed Trent Taylor, Khalid Kareem, and Quindell Johnson, two guys that really showed out really well in practice, in training camp, in preseason, right? Quindell Johnson did a really, really good job in that last game in preseason, made a bunch of tackles, bunch of pass breakups, did a really good job there. And then Khalid Kareem, I think that they said pretty much how they felt about him. I think they said it best, right? Where he was a guy that was able to step in and stop the run. Terrell Lewis did a great job getting into the backfield. The run is where he struggled. So they went with a guy that kind of fits both of their scheme fits, right? I can live with that. I can follow you down that path. I'm okay with that. I haven't seen a ton from this guy in the regular season that makes me feel 110% confident, but I can live with that. We got Abraham on the line. Let's go to Abraham on line 1.
Hi, how you doing?
Abraham, what's going on, brother?
Man, it's just, I was sick when they cut Terrell Lewis, man. I think Rasheem Green should have been cut, man. For real, for real.
I can't be mad at you. What's your issue with keeping Rasheem Green over Terrell Lewis?
I just felt like how Eberflus and Poe saying that production and doing it in practice and in game gets you on the roster. He did that and then got cut. I'm like, dang, that's not looking good for the organization. I felt like if you put in the work and did it, you deserve a roster spot.
Right. I'm not mad at that. Go ahead.
Another situation with Trent Taylor signing. You think they're gonna cut EQ?
It's a good question.
I feel like he get cut. I feel like he's gonna get cut, man. 'Cause I feel like they're gonna try to keep Bayless because they like Bayless. I feel like I know everybody's giving them a hard time, but I feel like Bayless is gonna get kept for one more year. And if he doesn't make it or do that, they're gonna do like how Anthony Schwartz was, cut him next year during the preseason. That's what I think. I feel like they're gonna give him one more chance.
Appreciate
so I think EQ's the odd man out.
Appreciate you for calling in, Abraham. I don't know if EQ's the odd man out in this situation. I don't, because to me, EQ brings something of value. Right? He's at a minimum, right? He's a blocker. They said they want blockers. He's a blocker. They want guys that they can get out on the screen. He's going to be able to get ahead of you, right? You do need guys to block.
How good do you think your roster has to be to keep a wideout to block, though?
I mean, listen,
that's a thing. Like, you better have a really good wide receiver room then.
I mean, but does Trent Taylor change that?
No.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Does Trent
exactly.
Taylor? There's one person who we're focused on with the Trent Taylor signing. Let's be 100%. Shout out to EO tuning in, chiming in with us. We don't get to hear EO on the mic enough anymore. I love hearing this guy talk. He knows his sports. But no, like, if we're being 100% honest, there's one name on this roster that we're concerned about. Why is Bayless here? I want Bayless to be successful. I've said this many times. I'm not one of those weird fans that wants to see you struggle. I'm not one of those weird fans that wishes that my team goes out there and does a bad job so that I can go to work the next day and say, I told you guys I was right. So I could be on the radio, or I can be on the on YouTube, or I can be I told y'all I was right. I told y'all. Bayless Jones, I want to see Bayless Jones succeed. I want to see Bayless Jones catch punts. Call in, let us know how you guys feel. 312-332-3776. I want to see him do well. I do. But you don't sign Trent Taylor if you don't think there's a concern around Bayless Jones. They talked about Bayless Jones. They said they still have a belief in Bayless Jones, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it. If you have a belief in Bayless Jones, you're not signing guys that all they do is return punts. You're not signing guys that all they do is return. Trent Taylor, okay, slot receiver. Sure, yeah. You'll never see this guy probably in the slot unless Darnell Mooney's dealing with injury. He's going to be returning punts. He's literally there just in case Tyler Scott also is not good. That's the only reason he's there. You've got a veteran presence returning punts. It's a third-round pick. What are we're just excited about a third-round pick only being on kickoff? He's supposed to be dynamic. Come on, guys. I love I want to see Bayless succeed, but we also have to have a real serious conversation here. We have to have a real serious talk here about what's going on with Bayless Jones. You don't make this signing if Bayless isn't a concern. They're concerned. They can sit there and they can tell you that, oh, you know, we feel confident, we trust him. Ryan Polt, maybe. Bayless Jones is still on this team because Bayless Jones was a 3rd-round pick. There's nothing else about his game that tells you he should be here. And you want to know why? Because P.J. Walker struggled just as much as he did in the preseason, and he's gone. He's not here anymore. We had no problem making that decision. We went with the undrafted rookie. The guy who literally we went with the guy who, didn't know. He literally, I believe he had an interview right before the 3rd preseason game where he goes, I don't know if the Bears are going to keep me in that. I know where I'm at. I understand. I'm an undrafted rookie. Why would they want to keep me? Right? So I'm not buying. I want Bayless to be successful. I don't want this to sound like, oh, the hate train. We're throwing all the hate on there. I don't want. I'm not one of those guys. But at the end of the day, I have to call a spade a spade. And if the only thing you're doing, right, and this is what I hear a lot too, shout out to, and I told y'all, I'm watching the YouTube chat. Y'all know where I'm from, baby. YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe to the page. If you ain't hit the like button, I'm at your head on YouTube too. We're also live over on the ESPN Chicago app. Let's get into this. Shout out to the YouTube chat as well. Torian in here, Jason in here, 22A Tech in here. Shout out to you guys, man. Where we got? Where'd he go? Where'd the comment go? Jason Stevens. End of the year, Bayless did make some plays as the gadget guy. You want to know what happens when you're the gadget guy and they put you on the field and you're only the gadget guy? I know the gadget play's coming. That doesn't work. Bayless, and what I've said this all training camp. I said this all right leading up to this. Bayless Jones has had a good training camp. He had a good training camp on kick return. He's had a good training camp as a receiver. Bayless has to be able to go out there and make plays as a receiver if they're going to keep him as a receiver on this roster. Otherwise, you sign guys like Trent Taylor. Remember, it's not just pick guys up off of the waiver wires. Somebody's got to lose a job. There are 2 guys that are going to lose their job. That sucks to say, but that's the reality of the situation. So I can't sit here and tell you I'm 100% confident it won't be Bayless. I think that they're going to give him every opportunity to be successful. I think that's where we're heading, right? He's going to be on this roster. But why are we keeping 7 wide receivers on the roster? Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it.
And of those 7, one is a blocker, and the other one we're afraid to use as a gadget guy or as a punt returner because of his ball security.
Exactly.
So they're like, what are we keeping 7 for then?
Exactly. Of the 7, one is a blocker. And I asked Jason McKee about this on today's podcast. Make sure you guys tune in to the Chicago Bears podcast as well. That'll be up a little bit later today when we talked about kind of what Bayless Jones is with the Trent Taylor signing. And Equinemius at a minimum, right? When you look at a guy like EQ, I can use him on multiple stuff. Last year, you couldn't use EQ on anything else except being a receiver. Why? Unfortunately, he was your number 1. He was the best that you had to offer outside of Darnell Mooney, who ended up getting banged up. So I can't use you on special teams as a blocker. I can't use you on special teams as a gunner. I can't use you in those. This year, EQ might be more valuable as a special teams guy. As Jason McKee, is he getting some special teams work as well? He talked about, you'll probably end up seeing him on special teams, probably see him on kickoff returns, probably see him on punt returns, different things like that. I have a use for you. What is the use for a kick returner, punt returner, wide receiver, whoever it is, that when the ball comes his way, it's on the carpet? That's a problem. Call in, let us know how you guys feel, man. 312-332-3776. Some interesting question marks coming out of the Ryan Poles press conference, reacting to it right now. I mean, we got the Nate Davis question marks. That's the biggest question I got right now. I don't know. Like it was a combination of injury and other things. What other things? What do you have? Had a wedding the entire training camp? Was it one of those? Another thing,
Bridezilla situation. That could take up a whole month of a man's life. Listen.
If the wife's not happy, I'm not blocking for my quarterback.
That's fair, man. Too much going on at home. It's got a lot going.
I think that's the other thing too, right? Here's the biggest question mark I have with all of this. How long have we been asking this question on, is he okay? The fact that you don't have to tell us anything doesn't mean just don't tell us anything. Because if this is the case, right, you could literally say, hey, Nate Davis has got some things going on at home, or Nate Davis is dealing with some things, right? He's got a little bit of a issue with the foot or something. And all of a sudden, all these questions are gone. The NFL is the funniest place in the world. The only place more hilarious is the NHL, because you would think that they are keeping the alien secrets safe. By the way, aliens are real according to the government. Like, you know what I mean? Like what secrets are you holding at this point? What secrets are you holding at this point? Come on, guys. Just let us know a little something. I know it's a lot to ask. Another big question mark that came out of this, right, and that people have been talking about, has been the Trevis Gibson situation. He never asked for a trade. We got that from Ryan Poles today. He tweeted out as such. I saw some people in the comments saying, what's your source? He's the source. You know what I mean? He tweeted out as much that he never asked for a trade. And Ryan Poles collaborated that response, basically saying that, he never did. We talked with him. We asked what's going on and why he wanted out of here. It ends up being scheme fit. Now, here's my thing with that, though. And I love it. Hit that like button if you guys are rocking with me. Appreciate you guys for showing love. We got 464 in the YouTube chat. Don't know how many more listening on the ESPN Chicago app. I need some more people calling into the show. 312-332-3776. Let's get this mug going on, man. What's going on with Trevis? That no matter what, 3-4-4-3, he can't get to the quarterback. What are we talking about? We saw that. I saw him get to the quarterback. It's a scheme fit? Rushing the passer? He's not a linebacker. We're not dealing with a Khalil Mack situation here where, right, like he's coming over and all of a sudden he's got to be a linebacker. It's getting to the quarterback. Trevis Gibson, opposite of good talent, should be able to get to the quarterback. The Chicago Bears never gave him the opportunity. I'm like, if we're being 110% honest, he was with the 2s and 3s the entire time. We never saw an opportunity where he moved up. That means this had nothing to do with scheme fit, in my opinion. This had to do with what you think of the person or what you think of the player itself. Are you going to play this guy? You want to see other guys be in that position. Trevis Gibson got to the quarterback, and you're going to tell me scheme fit is the reason he couldn't get sacks, but he got sacks in preseason. I get it as preseason versus the 2s and 3s, but guess what? When guys dominate versus the 2s and 3s, you usually see them start to move up. Usually say, hey, why don't we see what he's got up here? Why don't we see what he's got going on here? How's he going to get to the quarterback versus this guy? That's how it works with everybody else. Right? Dominique Robinson last year, that's how it worked for him. Just slowly started moving him up. He's doing well versus the 2s and 3s. Let's put him against the 1s, see what he looks like. Not as good. That's a whole different situation. Baki in the chat, shout out to the YouTube chat as well, said, Pat, the problem for Gibson was he was given the chance last season to be a consistent pass rusher, but he gave us 3 sacks. Here's the difference. I like that comment. Shout out to Baki in the chat. Here's the difference with that, though. You were asking him to be your number 1. What comes with being the number 1? He's the only guy that can pass rush. We're going to throw some double teams his way. We're going to chip every now and then, right? Like, you're the only guy. You had no other option. You had no other option. It was Trevis Gibson and Dominique Robinson. Dominique Robinson, it's been a year since a sack and a half. Right? It's been almost a full year since that sack and a half. We're almost a full year from that game. Trevis Gibson was your only option. I'm not telling you that he should be your option. I'm telling you that as the 3rd option, as the 4th option on the team, you can do worse. Guess what? You kept worse. Dominique Robinson did not outplay Trevis Gibson this preseason. He didn't. Now, the caveat I'll throw on top of all of that as well, a big thing for them is loaves. That's the one thing that I can't see. That's the one thing that I don't know what they're looking for, what they quantify as a loaf, what they quantify, right? Like that's the other thing. You know what I mean? Were there plays that he was taking off on a consistent basis? Were there plays where he's not going at it 100%? The only thing I can say for Dominique Robinson and give him, hey, he's got it. This guy knows what he's going to go 210% every play. All right, the ball's down the field, it's out. Dominique Robinson's trying to catch the receiver that's 15 yards in front of him. He's not loafing. But you can't tell me that production was better for the guys that you kept. You can't tell me that trying to get to the quarterback, this guy didn't do that versus the 2s and 3s. I'll believe a lot, but I don't believe lies. Come on now. Some of the waiver wire pickups. Now, here's the thing. I do like the pickups that we made. I think that he's going after. Here's what you're looking for. This is the one thing that Bill Belichick has done better than anybody else in the NFL that I want the Chicago Bears to do, and it's why I kind of like some of the waiver wire pickups that they've gone about and made. Khalid Kareem fits. He fits what they want to do. Quindell Johnson fits. He fits what they want to do. Body size, body type, getting to the quarterback, attacking the at least in preseason, right? You know what I mean? How he is in the pass and the run, he fits what they want to do. Quindell Johnson, size, length, all of those things, fits what they want to do. Can you turn these guys into what they were? And Quindell Johnson was a guy, rookie out of Memphis. They said even in the press conference, they had their eye on him. He was one of the undrafted free agents that they wanted to go get, but, goes to another team, ends up getting cut by the Rams. Rams wanted this guy. The Rams did not want him to get away. They were hoping to sneak him sneak him through waivers. It wasn't going to happen. Let me pull up real quick. I know I'm hitting the wrong thing over here. Gotta get the right keyboard. I got too many keyboards in front of me. They didn't let me control the show now. They didn't let me control the show. No, because he had a dominant last preseason game. And I think that kind of, once you saw that, right, once you saw Quindell Johnson going out there, I want to say he had 8 tackles. Let me see. I got the numbers here. In his last game, he had 8 tackles, 1 sack, a pass breakup, put together a dominant game. You're never going to sneak that guy onto the practice squad, especially not the last game of the season. Now, granted, Denver did win that game 41-0, but take from that what you will. Great game. But they like what they see. They like how it fits. They like how he fits into their system. And that's the Bill Belichick way. I don't have to go get the best player. I got to get the player that I can find that does what I need him to do well. Everyone remember Shea McClellan? Peel that Band-Aid off. That's a terrible name from the past, ain't it? But when he got over to New England, right? What do we want you to do? When you're in on this play, you go to the quarterback. When you're standing in there on this play, you go to the quarterback. What else you want me to do, Bill? Nothing. Don't drop back in coverage. Don't you try to follow the running back. You go to the quarterback. That's all I want you to do. I don't want to see you do anything else. But Bill, what I say, shut up. Go to the quarterback.
Boy, they tried to make Shea when he was in Chicago. He was a pass rusher and then like a free safety. Like, what the hell did they try to do with him?
Was he another guy that could just jump out of a swimming pool? We love those guys here.
Those are great. Those are great summer viral videos.
Yeah. I think he was one of those guys, wasn't he?
It was a D. I remember it was Gilbert. Something Gilbert was the first one I remember seeing.
Yeah.
Right out of the pool.
It was. I'm not gonna lie. That's impressive. But when are you going to use that on a football field? Right, like if
blocking field goals?
If you're Tremaine Edmonds, maybe, you got to see something over the middle. Like, I get that a little bit, but come on now. 312-332-3776. Call in. Want to hear you guys' thoughts on the show. 500 people in the YouTube chat. Shout out to the YouTube chat for showing love. Let me know how you guys feel. Let's go with this. Give me your biggest takeaway from the Nate Davis issue. What are some of your concerns with the Nate Davis issue? Do you think it's an attitude issue? Do you think that it's a want to practice issue? I don't know if y'all I'm not I said I wouldn't report on any of this, right? Because like there was that whole Twitter thread on like the inside of everything that we just knew was going to go down, right? Like I don't know if I buy any of this where it's like, oh, he had this conversation with Flus. He didn't like how Flus talked to him. I'm not gonna lie to you. If ever I hear I don't like how this guy talked to me on a football field with the things that we've heard. Did you guys see Hard Knocks the other night where Aaron Rodgers is basically just, ripping into people every step of the way because there's a standard you got? I don't like how he talked to me. He talked to me very mean. I'm uncomfortable. What? I'm not buying into anything of the rumor mill where it comes to, he doesn't like to practice. He doesn't like, right? Like, I don't believe that. This guy made it to the NFL. There's no way that he's just like, I don't believe in practice. But if that is a situation, you better crap all pro performances. Am I reading the board right here, EO? Is that Germany? We got a call in from Germany. I cannot leave this young man waiting or older gentleman. I don't know which it is yet. Let's go shout out to the name on this one. Patrick in Germany. What's going on?
Hey, what's going on, Pat the Designer? I'm a big follower of yours, and I'm proud of you. You're on ESPN. I've been following you for a minute.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Are you just enjoy Germany, or are you in the military now? I gotta figure out the Germany part of this.
No. No, I'm a government contractor.
Okay, all right. It's kind of close.
No more questions allowed to be asked.
No more.
Obviously.
I'm done. I'm
Can't.
done.
That's it.
I'm
Government
done with
contractor. Okay,
questions.
that's it. All right.
Aliens are real. What are your thoughts on the Bears?
Oh, my thoughts. I agree with pretty much everything you were saying there, especially with Gibson. I don't know what happened there. I'm like, oh man, I could have sworn he was gonna be on the squad, and I'm like, he got cut.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, what's going on here on that? So I do think because he was part of the last regime, to where they really try to put their own print on what's going on, what they want to have. But one thing I do want to say, and you mentioned it on your other shows also, it all comes down to Justin Fields. And I'm telling you, man, if that does not work, man, it's gonna be hard.
Don't even think that way, bro. You all the way out in Germany. You gotta keep them thoughts positive, bro. You're a long way from home, brother. Don't even think that way.
Hey, Pat, tell you something. I've been a Bear fan forever. I remember when the Bears in the 80s, we had no problem with Green Bay, man. Now Green Bay killing us. And I'm like, what the hell going on here? So I want us to. I just want us to make it, man. I'm tired of being second fiddle.
Yeah, I feel you. I appreciate the call in, man. Stay safe out there, man. Keep rocking with us, man, and I appreciate the support. I mean, listen. That's such an interesting thing. I've never experienced that. That's an entirely different thing. I've never experienced confidence that we're going to beat the Packers. Like my dad and my uncles always talk about, they said they counted 2 wins. Like they knew 2 times a year they were going to beat the Packers. I've never done that. I can't even imagine counting 2 times a year. I can talk confidently about it, right? We have Mac. Oh, we got you. I'll see you next time, right? Briggs, Urlacher. Hey, run it. Who I'm worried about? Brett Favre? Come on. I was still worried. I could talk it, right? But I was still worried.
Chalking up 2 wins versus the Packers is an incredibly foreign feeling to me. Like that I can't even wrap my head around it.
I've never even. I don't think, you know what? There was what was the season? Didn't Aaron Rodgers get hurt? And he kind of came back. I think I guaranteed us a win in that season versus Jay Cutler.
We saw Jordan Love's debut, I believe. Was that the same season you're thinking of?
It might be the same. No, not with Jay Cutler on the field. I want to say there was a year where Aaron Rodgers got hurt and Jay Cutler was QB, and we were able to guarantee some wins there. But other than that, like I've never in my life guaranteed a Packers win. Like that's crazy to me. That's crazy. Let's see what the YouTube chat is saying. YouTube chat over here reacting to some of the Nate Davis, what we heard about Nate Davis, right? Nate Davis dealing with during training camp injuries and other things. And other things. What are the other things? That's the question on today's episode, man. Irving said, will the Nate Davis signing keep polls up most nights? I mean, listen, if you're sitting here worried about will a guy get on the practice field, yeah. If you're worried, can a guy get on the practice field? Yes. It will keep you up at night. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that is the situation, but we haven't seen him hit the practice field. We've seen him in shells, other things.
In the same realm on Twitch, it's J-Dog asks, with Jenkins out and the Nate Davis mystery, is Feeney moving to left guard and Whitehair stays at center? What do you think what is that interior line gonna look like? Because we haven't seen it for a snap in training camp.
I think you want to start Lucas Patrick, right? They want us. Here's the wild part. We're full circle, right? We brought Lucas Patrick here to be our starting center and the leader of this offensive line, and now we're going to have Lucas Patrick be our starting center and the leader of this offensive line. I do think you leave Cody Whitehair left guard. I think you're still probably going Nate Davis right guard. I don't think anything changes on your interior. Here's my thing, though. When you look at the numbers for Feeney, first off, let's have a conversation about Feeney here. I need everybody listening in here. Who doesn't love a great mullet? Who doesn't love phenomenal mullet game? And you got to have the right head to pull it off, though.
They're overdone right now. I can't walk to Walmart or Target without seeing 15 mullets. So it's overdone right now.
We're living in very different neighborhoods, Derek.
That might be true. That might be true.
Shout out to Erica Strasky. We're living in very different neighborhoods there. We get the ducktail a lot, which is basically the black version of the mullet, right? Like that's what it is. It is what it is. But no, I mean like the phenomenal mullet game. But when you look at his career as a starter, here's my concern. He's been a guy that has allowed sacks every season. I believe over 3 seasons. It depends on what website you go to, right? But over 3 seasons, I believe a PFF had him at 17 sacks. It's a lot of sacks for your starting left guard, right guard, whatever he is. Again, he's a guy that's very versatile. Now, what I will say and where I think the Bears will use him as long as the injuries don't end up biting you in the butt, different things like that. Where I do think the Bears will try to use him more so is as that backup, the guy that slides in, comes in when guys need a breather, all of that, right? Because he's a guy who in a backup role has been dominant. He's a guy that when he's come in just on a spot, I need you a spot here, spot there, or maybe a spot start, he's been able to go out there and be a dominant player. I think that he's been a little bit better if you look at the metric breakdowns as the center versus him at the guard positions. So that's probably why you also bring him in. But the Bears love that versatility. You love the fact that you have a guy that can play all 3 positions. Chuck Fee 23 says, why do we want Patrick at center? They had Whitehair there all offseason. Patrick would have been there all along had they wanted him there. He wasn't healthy enough. They did want him there. Cody White, you think they wanted Sam Mustipher at center? That's what we're saying here? Sam, that's who you wanted? He tripped over his own feet one day after snapping the football. This was in the game, not practice. We watched it. It was on TV. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, right? Like, Lucas Patrick's just been an injury concern, which is why you had to go out and get Feeney. Somebody in here, I missed 22 A-Tech said his whole personality is a mullet. 100%. Anyone who can crack a can on their head, mullet personality. But I just think, right, when you look at, what Feeney brings, it's just, it's that veteran presence. It's literally, this guy snapped the ball versus NFL talent before. That's it. That's why you traded for him. Because other than that, you kept Doug Kramer on this roster. I want Doug Kramer to be successful. I hope Doug Kramer is successful. Chicago kid, love to see it. By the way, we getting too many Chicago kids in here? It's getting weird.
It's getting crowded in the neighborhood, man. It's getting crowded.
Yeah, too many Chicago kids here. Like, listen, I get it, right? Like, oh, they got the love for the city and they're gonna go harder. What's that worked? How many times has that worked in Chicago sports history? Who are we talking about? We're talking about what, Chicago? Derrick Rose, right? ECF, right? He had the love of the city on his back. I mean, how many Chicago guys dominate? Thayer's a good one.
There we go, Joliet's own.
Joliet's own Tom Thayer. I mean,
we got some. It's a lot of basketball. That's about it.
Yeah, but like, did they win?
No, and then none of them were here that much.
Like, I don't know about the whole Chicago exercise, but when it comes to this offensive line, big question marks for me is just health. Lucas Patrick looks great in the 3 plays he played center versus the Patriots. He hurt himself immediately. Seems to also be the theme of training camp. Seems to also be the theme of preseason. What I will say, I thought another nugget that came out of this that was very interesting is Ryan Poles talked about doing the self-reflect on practice and training camp because of how many soft tissue injuries piled up. And we asked this question before. I asked this to Courtney Cronin over on the Chicago Bears podcast. Could it be an issue of I'm dealing with injuries because of how hard we're practicing? Now, you would think in a collision sport like football, we wouldn't be talking about that. But it's a different era, different age. If you don't practice like this all the time, if you come from different teams who don't practice like this, how is there a situation that we're in now where we have to sit here and look at Matt Eberflus and say, hey, bro, you got to take 10 to 15% off of the practices here because you're killing all our guys before we get to the season? That could be something. Apparently, they're self-reflecting on it because of how many of the injuries popped up. That's something interesting to look towards. But even Ryan Poles said with Justin Fields going out there and taking snaps in that those 13 snaps in that last game, he said you don't really get started until you start getting hits. Taking those shots, taking those hits, that's what it comes down. That's when you start to, okay, I'm in football mode now. How do you find that happy medium? That's gonna be a real question, talking about self-reflecting.
What does that do, or what does that say when Ryan Poles says that in a press conference and Matt Eberflus has his hits principle? Like, the way they practice is it runs through Eberflus's blood. So what does that say? Like, is there any animosity in that relationship, or or are they both sitting back and looking at this?
I think you have to just ask yourself, how hard can we go? Because, here's the thing. And this is somebody asked this on the Chicago Bears podcast yesterday. It was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal question. How are these guys all magically healthy all of a sudden? And does Flus care as much about practice as he lets on? That was a great question yesterday, because I don't think Flus doesn't care about practice. But let's be 100% honest. We had 21 guys at one point on the not practicing list. That's going to shrink to 3 by week 1. That's going to shrink to like 3 guys by week 1. And 2 of those guys are going to get injured during practice in week 1. Right? Like, that's the soft tissue stuff. How much stuff are we just not practicing through? How much stuff are we not playing through? How much stuff is there that it's like, you tweak something there? Okay, don't worry about it. You sit down, have a coffee, you're good. You breathe a little bit. Can you breathe? Don't worry about it. I'll rub your back while you do. How much of it is that? That's my question. Because all of a sudden, right, the season gets here and guys are magically healthy. Guys that we haven't seen, and we haven't seen Jaquan Brisker since what, week 1? I don't think we've seen Jaquan Brisker since the week 1 preseason game. Like, it's another thing, right? The government secrets thing. What are we keeping the secrets for at this point? The government's releasing the secrets. Hey, aliens are real. We knew it. Don't worry about it. That's the real question. You know what I mean? Shout out to you guys tuning in. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the page over on the YouTube side. Going to be on here for a little bit longer, probably till about 3:30. So call in 312-332-3776. Want to hear your thoughts, your thought process. Where do you feel this Chicago Bears team is heading? What do you feel about the comments that Ryan Poles made today? Lord Crimson said preseason is BS and not even close to worth the risk. I'd put a player with a hangnail on the bench during preseason. And listen, that's some people's philosophy. I can't be mad at it, right? That's some people's philosophy. But say that's your philosophy. You can't say that that's your philosophy or have that be the example of your philosophy and also have hits principle. Those are two ends of the spectrum. The first word in hits is hustle. That means I'm going to run harder. That means I'm going to run faster. That means by the time I get to the dude that has the ball, I'm going to hit him harder. It can't then be, I don't know, my finger. It don't bend the same right now. And again, I think that these are going to be things that when the season starts, we're not going to talk about any of them. We're not going to outside of Tevin, Chase Claypool is going to be ready to go. Jaquan Brisker's all of a sudden magically going to be healed. Eddie Jackson will be right back out there. Like all of these guys that miss time. The only I said this multiple times. The only reason Justin Fields played in that third preseason game, I'm not reporting this, but this is my feeling, is because there were so many changes on the offensive line. He had no choice, but the Bears had no choice but to send Justin Fields out there to be like, hey, we need to see if Doug can snap. We need to see if he can get you the football without falling over. It's the only reason you saw 13 plays from him. I think that literally, if the offensive line is fine, if everybody is healthy, you don't see Justin Fields since that first game. They talked. Ryan Poles talked about that as well. Talked about the importance that they put on the joint practices, saying you see more from the ones, you see more. Lance Briggs corroborated that as well, where he basically said, I'd be okay with seeing more joint practices because you're getting more of ones versus ones. It's more of in-game situations, different things like that. Preseason is just you going through the motions. Right? You're going through the motions of getting ready for a game. You're going through the motions of getting ready to go out there and play football. That's it. That's all preseason is. And we're trying to fill out the back end of our roster. Travis Gibson didn't make it. He wasn't good enough. It was a scheme fit. It was a scheme issue. That's what they said, scheme issue. But if we're right, like you wouldn't have seen Justin Fields in that last game. You wouldn't have seen half of the people we saw in that last game. DJ Moore, I'm risking DJ Moore to go up against the Bills, what? For 13 plays? Not risking. And you saw it, right? Here's the thing. He reached his snap count. It just so happened to be 13 plays. You don't want to know what happened?
Easy. Government secrets.
Government secrets. Breathe. Everyone breathe. Want to know what happened there? He got hit in the chest late, and the refs didn't call anything. And all of a sudden, Tyson Bagent is finishing that drive. As much as we love Tyson Bagent, he was the sacrificial lamb in that situation. That's all you could say about it. That's all you come away with that with. Justin Fields, you don't think they put him out there. You don't think that they would have wanted to end that game with a drive with him going in? Right? All the talk all of a sudden is Justin Fields was still able to score a touchdown. Right? He had a tough start and he's able to come back. Come on, guys. Antoine Robinson, good comment here, says, I think people need to understand hurt versus injured. Everyone in the NFL is hurt after training camp. I think they were just taking precautions. I agree with you. I'm not saying that that's not the case. I do agree with you. What I'm saying is that is contradictory to what Matt Eberflus's practice style, play style, right, like training camp style is. These guys are running. These guys are going. Darnell Mooney said it. He was like, you see other teams practice and it's different. You're going at a harder pace. You're going at a higher pace. So if I'm going to push you harder, why am I so quick to take the foot off the pedal?
What do you think would be the safer route, the better route? Practicing harder every single day like this and not playing in the preseason games, or walkthroughs and shells and then playing against your opponents in the preseason games? Because it almost feels like it's one or the other at this point.
I feel like It does. It feels like it's one or the other, and it feels like the Bears are stuck in a weird hybrid of both. They haven't picked a lane with it. And I'm not upset by it. It's one of those things where, right, if you're going to practice hard, you have to then keep the foot on the pedal for those hard practice, because that's how the body builds up. J-Mac talked about it. When you get it, he's like, when we came out of it, when we get hit, we'd get banged up in practice and all of that stuff, but you come out of it and you're already used to that. You go into a game and you're just like, okay, I got hit. We get into week 1, week 2. How many soft tissue injuries are we talking about? The list of injuries after the first week of the season is like a novel. That's what it ends up as. And so I think that there is some weird balance that you got to figure out. You got to pick a lane. And for me, I just don't think that Flus has picked a lane. I think that's why they want to do the self-reflection. That's why Ryan Poles talked about doing the self-reflection. Because, we're going hard, we're doing this, we're doing that, but we're losing bodies here. And you end up losing a guy who heading into the season you thought was going to be the guy. We talked about him being the stability next to Braxton Jones this year, and that's why he was going to take a step forward. Tevin Jenkins going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. They do say they have him designated to return after that 4 weeks, but he's going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. And you just got to hope for the best with Cody Whitehair in his club hand, because he's banged up too. You got to hope Lucas Patrick holds up 4 weeks at center. Otherwise, you're quickly to Dan Feeney. I love the mullet game, but it's not pretty. Those are that's where my concerns start to creep in with it. That's where my concerns are when you're talking about choosing kind of both lanes at the same time is, you're going so hard on one end, but then now we're going to get to week 1. All these guys have dealt with soft tissue injuries. None of these guys have taken – Jaquan Brisker hasn't taken a hit in what? A month? Jaquan Brisker hasn't been hit in a month. And I'm fine with you doing it one way. I asked Lance Briggs this. Should we, because we know, listen, the NFL is going to choose money over power, right? Money over everything. 18's coming. Week 18's coming. Would it be better to have more practice styles the way that that Matt Eberflus does now, where we're going to do a joint practice, and instead of having 3 preseason games, you have 3 joint practices where you get to see your ones versus your ones? Would it be better to have that style than to sit there with 3 preseason games, 18 weeks of football, then the playoffs come here? Well, we're going to have to increase the rosters to 70 people with how many bodies are going to be dropping here. So for me, it's that's the questions that I think, what part of it is more important to you? The dress rehearsal? Because clearly that's not. You didn't put Justin Fields out there for most of the time. What did he play? A total of 20 snaps in the whole preseason, pretty much? I think he played 7 the first game, played 19 snaps. No, he played 20 snaps, 7 the first game, 13 the second. Math, that's why I talk sports. Not like I need to know the numbers or anything. But it's one of those things for me where, like, I just want to see a consistency from my head coach. And I think they do too. I think that's why they want to self-reflect with it. 15 more minutes on here, man. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page over on the YouTube side. Call into the show. We want to hear from you. 312-332-3776. React to anything that you're seeing from Matt Eberflus with the practices. You want to talk about the Nate Davis situation where it's a combination of injury and other things. What are the other things? Also, Terrell Lewis cut, Travis Gibson cut. A lot of guys brought in. Trent Taylor coming in. Is that going to be the sign that gets Velus out of here? Are you keeping 7 wide receivers heading into the season? You also got Khalid, Kareem being brought in, and Quindell Johnson. Let's go out to the phones. We got Chase on the phone here. Chase, what's good?
Hey, man, what's up, man? It was good seeing you all Sunday, man. Did finally
Football Fest was a great time, man. How you feeling, my guy?
I'm good, man. I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
I'm all right. I'm enjoying. Listen, it's football talk, baby. That's all it is. You know what I mean? Football season is here. What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, yes sir. Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'll be frank with you. I'm very worried. Like, there's two things that worries me right now. I'm very worried about our defensive line, the fact that we can't stop the run. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Like, I'm predicting this team to win 8 to 9 games, at the very best 10. But I'm gonna tell you just like this: if they can't stop the run, they'd be lucky to win 4 games. Because if you can't stop the run, you're not gonna win a lot of football games.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. I mean, the game is won in the line of scrimmage. You got to do so. John Madden had the old saying: if you want to win this league, you got to be able to stop the run and you got to be able to run the football. And right now, the two positions the Bears are weak at are the line of scrimmage right now. And right now, to me, that's the biggest concern, because you can't expect to be a playoff contender if you can't win at the line of scrimmage. It's just a fact. You know what I mean? If you can't stop the run, if you can't pressure the quarterback, you're not going to win many football games. I don't care. I mean, unless you got a high-powered superstar offense that can put 30, 40 points per game, you're not going to win. Right now, our offense is still, at best, mediocre at best. We got a quarterback right now who's still, at best, shaky. I mean, I'm very nervous about Justin, because as much as, I want him to be the guy, and I'm hoping he can be the guy, I'm still hearing some of the things I'm hearing. It kind of makes me scared. Like, man, I'm hopeful, but I'm kind of scared, man, about what's going to happen this upcoming season. I'm still hopeful, but I'm just nervous, because it's a lot of questions right now, more so than answers. So that's pretty much my take so far, man. And I'll hang up and listen. Enjoy the rest of your day, bro.
Appreciate you, Chase. Appreciate you calling in. It was a pleasure meeting you the other day. Listen, I get you with the concerns. I think the one thing that we forget a lot of times is Andrew Billings, Justin Jones being on this team. Those were guys that were good at stopping the run. Those were guys that were able to get in there and be able to stop the run on their previous teams. I think they're going to be able to do that here in Chicago. I think that Zach Pickens is going to develop a lot quicker than most of us thought. Javon Dexter is going to be a guy who's going to develop throughout the year. But I believe that Zach Pickens is a guy that we're going to see early on. We had him on the pod as well. We're going to see early on that is going to be able to help you with stopping the run as well, getting to the quarterback as well. I think the Bears will be better at the run blocking this year. You have no choice but to be. You gutted your team last season. There's no way that you come back with just adding bodies and putting people in position for them to go out there and to be worse than you were last year, to still struggle at the same length that you would last season. So I think that will be okay on that. Anthony out in Champaign. Anthony, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're going off of what he just said. The people don't know what the defense is going to look like this year yet. I mean, the defense has not been together all preseason, and they, we had our safeties out. We seen Garvin and Pickens come in and play, but most of our line has not been there. So
right.
It's really unfair to judge what the line's going to look like if they haven't been there playing in the preseason, and that's the only way we've seen them in the preseason unless we went to the practice.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I think that, we haven't seen this defensive line, the starting line at all, right? There's been no pass rush. There's been no Yannick Ngakoue. There's been no DeMarcus Walker. Again, guys Yannick, I don't know what that is. Like, that's basically, he came in apparently on the, I'm Yannick Ngakoue. Y'all know what it is. That's the plan that he's on. And then you look at the rest of the defense. Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't know what. See, that's one thing. Eberflus and them, you can tell they like to keep things secret, and everything has been very vanilla. And you're not going to know what our defense is going to look like, when what our offense look like, because it's been so vanilla.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree with you. Appreciate the call in, Anthony. I mean, if we're being 100% honest, I went to probably, 13, 14 training camp practices, something like that, EO. I don't think I saw one play that we saw in training camp in any of the preseason games. I don't think I saw one offensive set. I don't think that I saw one. I literally think they went into every preseason game and were like, we got to see how these guys are going to look as backup blockers. We got to see how Equinemius is going to look as a blocking wide receiver. We got to see, I don't think that we went into any game and I saw anything they were trying to do in training camp. And so that leaves me with the mindset of this team is basically they don't view preseason as important. They don't view preseason as the end all be all. Very much like many of us fans do who live by it week to week. That's kind of what it is. Let's finish out the calls here. Go out to P Kid. Kid, what's good?
What's good, my boy? How you feel?
Hey man, I'm in the building, man.
Hey man, Windy City in the building. I love it. I love it.
Man, they let me host a show on ESPN. I'm in the building, brother.
Hey, you in the building, baby. In the building. Hey, I got to stir the pot a little bit before you get off, right?
Let's go.
All right, so listen, I understand we haven't seen a lot. Things have been vanilla, all that stuff. Maybe they played it, a little closer to the chest. I appreciate that, right? Now that gives us, something to look forward to. I don't think they should have done it that way, but who am I to judge it, right? But let me ask you this. At what point throughout this season do you now start to have real questions? What's your benchmark? I have one benchmark in particular, the Carolina game. I've always been really big on this is about development. It's really trying to develop see who we have at the QB position, if he's going to be the guy moving in the future, which is why we haven't really seen a lot of extensions or stuff like that.
Right.
But if it comes out that in that game he performs poorly against what technically could have been his replacement, I think that's going to be a huge indictment on Poles. I think it's going to be a huge indictment on the organization. What are your particular benchmark games outside of those within the division? I know those are given. But think of it from those terms.
I mean, I guess appreciate the call in, kid. Appreciate you showing support, bro. I guess in terms of what my benchmark is, right? The Carolina game is week 10, Thursday night. If the Bears are 8-1 heading into that,
that's late in the season to be proving anything to me.
Yeah.
I think we'll know a lot about that team by that point.
I think if you're heading into the Kansas City game, we'll know quite a bit about what this team's philosophy and if this team's philosophy works. That's week 3, right? I think week 1, they're going to come out. And here's the one part I want people to understand. That feeling you had at the end of the season last year where Justin Fields was running the offense well. And, we all felt like, oh, there's just not enough wide receivers. And if Justin Fields just got some wide receivers, we would have won these games. And if he didn't have to do, I still have those feelings. I still remember that. I remember that feeling. I remember what that felt like. I remember the excitement. Like, oh, we might have a quarterback if he just gets some wide receivers. Guess what? He's got some wide receivers. I don't think you don't think that going into week 1, they're not going to sit there and say, hey, let's run some of the things we ran last season just to get us back into rhythm. Versus the Packers, things that worked. Oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers ain't there no more. That's a big one. You know what I mean? By the way, Aaron Rodgers ain't there no more. You don't think that going into, they're going to run some of the stuff that got us excited last season to start this season. Now, hopefully less running stuff. But if we get to week 10 and we're sitting here having the conversation of what is this team? Do they finally have an identity? I think you're going to know that well before then. You're going to see them try to establish that early on, punch teams in the mouth, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, right? And then that Kansas City game, you got to go into that Kansas City game feeling like if you're 2-0, we got a shot. All of a sudden, things are moving in the right direction. That's how momentum is built. And I think that's to me where I start to look at it and say, okay, listen, if you get, because even let's say it's the flip scenario, right? A lot of Bears fans around Chicago are sitting here with the mindset of we're going to go into, we're going to play Green Bay week 1 in Soldier Field. It's a 325 game. Bears are going to dominate. They're going to come out. They're going to punch them in the mouth. This is going to be the time. We felt like that versus when Khalil Mack came here versus the Packers. And the Bears looked like it. And then Aaron Rodgers comes back in the second half. I don't know what that shot was. You know what I mean? Was there some ayahuasca on that? Can we say that on here? You say ayahuasca on here? I don't know.
I think we just can't smoke it. Do we even? Is that what you do? No. I don't even know how we consume ayahuasca. I don't know if it's if you eat it.
I think you just exist around it. Like it just smokes and you exist around it.
There we go. It's an essence thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I mean, realistically, right? Like, if you come into that week 1 game and you lose that game, That doesn't dictate what the season is, but it's a gut punch. And if you then go to Tampa Bay and you didn't learn from that gut punch, yeah, we got concerns, boys. We got problems. We got issues. You get punched in the gut, you go to Tampa Bay and you struggle, maybe you still pull out a win, but it's a by the teeth win? No, that's a concern. That's a gut punch. So I think early on, you're going to sit here and look at, hey, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to adjust to what we did week 1, trying to adjust to what we did week 2. Not very different, right? If you win versus the Packers, we know how football is. This week to week. You lose versus the Packers, you go down there, we're upset, the world is ending, you go down there and dominate Tampa Bay by 30 points. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, maybe it was just a fluke. You know what I mean? Yeah, we got to deal with 18 weeks of Packers fans talking trash to us, but maybe it was just a fluke. I think that's the situation for me, how I look at it. And I get it, right? Kid in the chat as well. He says week 3 feels early for a developing team. I would agree with you if they were operating in preseason as a team that's just trying to worry about development. The development team, guess what? Green Bay played Jordan Love every game. That's development team. When you're trying to develop, when you're trying to see what you're going to be able to get, when you're running your quarterback through a real set of plays and scheme, that's when you're saying, yep, we're pumping the brakes on this season. We're not worried about, we're not trying to, we're just hoping that he develops. We're going to take our time. Let's do what we can do. That's how you operate that. When you say that guy don't need reps, he's got it. You're not worried about development. You're worried about success. You're worried about accomplishment. You're worried about going, and he can say that, right? Like he can say, and Ryan Poles did say that we just want to see Justin Fields go out there, less interceptions, less sacks, develop and all, right? But realistically, you're worried about the results that you're going to see on the opposite side of that. I think that's going to be the big thing for Justin here. That's going to be the big thing for this Bears offense. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys for showing love to today's show. Shout out to Eric Ostrowski for producing today's show. First time that they just let me run the mic by myself, get to ramble on, talk with you guys in the YouTube chat. Shout out to everybody in the YouTube chat who chimed in. P. Kid, Antoine Robinson, who all we had up in that mug, man. I mean, Baki always in the chat, man. I mean, we a lot of love from you guys, man. Appreciate the support. Everybody who called in, Chase. I mean, everybody who's been rocking with the journey for so long, they didn't let me get on the air, bro. Stop playing with me. We dominating out here now. Now it's just the sky is the limit. Somebody play Lil Wayne. Do we got a Lil Wayne outro for the sky is the limit? We got a Lil Wayne outro? Don't worry about it. Hey, man. As always, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Make sure you guys stay tuned in over on ESPN 1000, ESPN Chicago app, and stay tuned in here for the home of the Bears. Everything Bears coverage, Bears podcast coming you guys' way as well. Y'all stay safe out of Chicago. Peace.